Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me, your host, Tommy Gilbert, as we take a seat at the table with coaches and student athletes to get a behind-the-scenes look into Titan athletics. From in-depth breakdowns to fun stories, you can catch it all right here on Titan Table Talk.
Welcome to Titan Table Talk. Tony Bankston here, and our guest today from the women's basketball program at Illinois Wesleyan University, assistant coaches Brian Ehresman and Kate Bullman, the former Illinois State University standout here as well. And you guys are here on sub-duty. Coach Maya down for the count. Avoiding illness has been an interesting thing for the team this year.
Yeah, obviously we just talked about too. Everybody's sick, everybody's coughing, but we told Coach Smith, take it easy. We need her at her best for game time, so it should be okay. But we're happy to step in and talk about our team.
Well, you guys are obviously having a great season so far. Currently ranked number 2 in the latest rankings for NCAA Division III, 16-0 overall. Also undefeated in the conference, and it's been interesting because it seems to me from the outside this is a group that is doing a good job wearing that label. Obviously as the wins stack up and the rankings come in and all this kind of attention, that can also stack up all the pressure. But I think you and I have talked a couple times this year that this is a special group that seems to handle that okay.
Yeah, and I think it's something that's been building for a couple years. So when you have the same rotation or core group of players that have been through it for a year or two or 3 in some of their cases, that you get to this point because you've gone through some of those things already. So they've played in big games, they've won some big games, they've lost some big games. This year they've all kind of gone our way. I like to think of it, we have the mental edge, and we get a little bit better at basketball too as the time goes, but I think experience is something you can't rush, and that happens by doing. So this group has been through a lot, like I said, and they're prepared for these moments.
I think I was enjoying a debate that was happening in the office the other day where someone was asking, well, do you kind of want to lose one before, just so that you've kind of gone through that? And you were pretty adamant. You're like, I want to win them all. I want to win every game. I'd love to be undefeated.
Yeah, and I think I was saying, people that say they want that are people that lose a game before they say that. I don't think when you're in it you ever want to lose a game. And I think we're mature enough to handle, it's not any extra pressure based on our record. We know our ultimate goal. And so that's not always just based on being undefeated or anything, but while we're in it, let's keep going. We don't ever plan on slipping up. So,
yeah. Kate, I think an interesting element of this team is it's a team that started out shooting really well from the perimeter at the beginning of the year, and then that's been a little bit more of a challenge of late, but the one of the strong points of this team is that they seem to be able to adjust, and when one part of the game isn't there, at that particular moment, that they're able to switch to other ways to score the basketball. And that's where you come into play, because I know you've worked with the team on the interior, and Caitlin Knutson and Lauren Huber as well, and saying, hey, it's great if the threes are falling, but if they're not, we need to find a way to score on the interior.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the guards, I give props to them too, is last year post play wasn't a big thing for them, but this year, because we've been working so hard on making the posts better, the guards are more confident in passing the ball to them, and I think playing inside out has been one of our biggest strengths this year. But also just the defensive end. I don't know how, I didn't keep up last year as much, but this year we've been doing a great job. We don't have a true post player. So defensively we've been focusing on, not letting their posts score against us, and our defense has played a big part in why our offense has been so successful because, like you said, we haven't been scoring the perimeter as much, so defensively we've been doing great too.
How's the transition been for you this year? You're about halfway through the season, and I think a lot of people think of Division I versus Division III, and they think of things like scholarships or, talent level or those types of things, but the schedule is very different from Division I and the amount of time you guys have to spend and the travel. And how have you found that adjustment between what you were used to as a player at the Division I level and kind of how it's been coaching at Division III for this first half season?
It's been really fun. I love the girls, and like you said, it is very different, Division III, Division I. But the difference for me, the biggest difference has been the girls choose to be there every single day. It's not it doesn't become a job for them because they're not getting that scholarship. They're not getting any extra incentives besides, winning. So that's the biggest difference for me is D1. Sometimes when it gets down to the season, it becomes more like a job, but the girls, I don't know, they make it really fun. I love this group. So it's been a great time. I love it.
Well, coming up first this week on Wednesday is an away trip down in Decatur against Millikin. And for those that have been following women's basketball the last couple of years, they know that that's been a knockdown drag-out over the last couple of years. And Lise Knutson, when she was there, who's now finishing up with a grad year at Illinois State University. Interesting Millikin squad. They've had some interesting results up and down. They played Carroll to within about a 9-point game, I think it was. So what are you guys expecting this week from Millikin?
It's a rivalry game. So again, anytime teams that, when you're rivals, it doesn't matter who's on the roster. It doesn't matter how their season's going. We got the Cardinals and Cubs, we got the Bears and Packers, and we got Wesleyan and Millikin. It's all in the same type of idea where they're improving. Like you said, they were without their freshman post player, who's also a volleyball athlete at Millikin. She's a load. She's athletic. She plays powerful. We were just talking about her on the way here. How are we going to guard her? She makes a big difference for them. So I think you'll see that in the results as the second half of what they've had so far. They're going to play hard. Their new coach, Coach Hammer, she was an assistant at Whitewater. She's a good friend of mine. We would always talk on the recruiting trail when she was the assistant. But she's doing a really good job. I know she's going to keep turning that around. They play kind of like 5 guards to start, similar to us, perimeter-based. So three-point shooting they've made some shots in their wins, so we got to make sure that they don't get easy looks, and we got to keep them out of the lane at the same time. So tough to do.
Yeah, Kate, it sounds like one of the assignments for you. Do you, when you're assessing a team for the week, obviously you need to look at both, but do you embrace more, going up against a really good post player and trying to figure out, hey, how are we going to defend this and take it away from the other team? Or do you think about maybe first, how are we going to score and be effective on the offensive end? You've got to do both, but it sounds like this week you've got a little bit of an assignment going against a strong player down low.
Yeah, just the type of player that I always focused on defense. That was kind of my thing. I wasn't in the game to score, I was in the game to defend. So I kind of brought that with me coaching-wise. I focus more on how we can guard the other team, and I think that's just kind of how ISU is too. So coming from there, I focus a lot on defense, but Coach Smith has really pushed me to look at their defense more and be like, hey, how can we score against them? So I think it's a little bit of a balance, but definitely with their freshman post player, we're focusing hard on how we can defend her.
Yeah, and you mentioned, Brian, being a rivalry, sometimes it's the middle of the week, super cold outside today. You head down to Millikin. Luckily, it's only about a 45-minute drive or so, but then you show up and there's more people in the gym than you see on any of the film for other Millikin games. The football team, all of a sudden, they bought them pizza. The Millikin football team's down there in the first row. So it oftentimes, regardless of records, is a pretty hostile environment to play.
Yeah, Millikin, I will say, too, the last several years we've gone there, they've had great crowds. Build it up. It's great for our players to be in that situation too, in that environment, even when it is the other team. I think it's just a fun atmosphere, good experience for postseason play, gets the juices flowing a little bit. So we expect a good crowd, good student involvement. Like you said, I think they have had they've done some pizza stuff, some hot dog, maybe some ice cream even. Maybe not ice cream tomorrow with the temperature, but cold, there's been a lot of stuff going on. So I would expect nothing less, and I think that speaks to also the growth of women's basketball and the rivalry that we have.
And then you follow that up with a Saturday contest here at home at 2 p.m. against Wheaton College, and that was an interesting game. First one back after the break, and was a really tight contest until you finally were able to pull away a little bit in the fourth quarter. So, looking at the records, you would expected maybe that to be a game you handle a little bit better, but what made that first game against Wheaton so difficult?
Yeah, they're always a team that's going to defend. They like a slower pace. Obviously, that's different from us. We like to push the pace. So I feel like they kind of controlled the style of play, the style of the game, which limited scoring. I think we only ended with 59 points. So when we're scoring in the 50s, that's not our brand of basketball. We didn't shoot the ball well, but we can't always control that. There's always other ways to score, like we talked about earlier. I didn't think that we generated enough turnovers in that game either. They handled the ball pretty well for the most part. So I think sometimes when you start to get a little bit tighter game, you start pressing because the players know the records, they know the rankings, even if you don't want to dwell on it. And I always tell them, you're not going to be up by 20 points in the first 2 minutes. That's just not how this works. They're a good team. They're a conference team. We talk about that too. Conference teams are used to playing us. They're not going to be intimidated to play us. So it's something that you have to bring that same energy, and especially when you're number one ranking in the conference, they're going to give you the best shot. So you got to be able to take that and then be 10 points better than you even think you need to be on the road. So Saturday is a big game for us, starting the second round of conference play. Everybody knows tendencies even better because you've played them. Not only have you watched it on film a lot, now you've played them and they have the in-game experience. So definitely a big game to kind of turn the corner of the second half of the conference season.
Yeah, that was going to be my question for you, Kate, is, you can obviously do a lot of work on film, but is there a big difference, preparing to play a team the second time after you physically had a chance to be on the sideline, play them? And so from your preparation, with post players and defending and offensive attacking as well, is it a little easier after you've seen it live and in person after that first game?
Yes, for me, especially as first-year coach. I mean, I never really know what to expect coming in. Obviously, the transfer from D1 to D3, it's a lot different, but, I mean, the players are awesome, and I'm excited to see the teams the second round because there is that level of, okay, I've seen you already. Now, maybe you didn't have a good game the first time, and now I'm going to try to do even better the second time. And same with our girls, like, they remember that. But I don't know. It's always fun to play teams second time. That's why conference is so crazy, because you could blow a team out by 20 the first time and then lose by 10 the second time. So it's fun.
Yeah. And a couple of fun things going on. I think, is it Pink Zone, right, this weekend?
Yeah.
So it's the Pink Zone, the annual fundraiser for cancer fundraising for the team, which is always with Maya Smith, who's been open about her fight against breast cancer over the years and recovery from that. So it's always a special day overall, but especially for the women's basketball program. And you're bringing some alumni back to recognize as well. So it should be a fun day for both the players and the fans.
Yeah, hoping for a really great crowd, just community involvement and then alumni involvement. When you combine both of those things, especially a good cause, like you said, Coach Smith, when we do the cancer research, I know a lot of programs and a lot of people are really passionate about that, because even if you haven't been affected by it personally, like you haven't had cancer, your family has or a friend. But Coach Smith, having gone through that while coaching, I think adds a little bit more just of that sentiment and that importance of what we're doing and what we're playing for that day. And then the alumni, now that I've been here 4 years, it's also fun for me to see, I know more alumni now, 3 years worth, and then getting to know the other alums who come back. So each year it gets a little bit more special for me as well. So excited to see a lot of alums back. We'll have a little reception after the game, and hopefully we can put on a good performance on the floor for them that they'll be proud of.
Well, thanks to both of you for showing up on this frigid Tuesday morning, and best of luck this week. Hopefully the Titans can add a couple more wins to the win column.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll be right back on Titan Table Talk.
It's time to play Did You Know with Illinois Wesleyan. First off, true or false? On average, over half of tuition for accepted students is covered by scholarships and grants. True. IWU invests more than $40 million in scholarships and grants for students each year.
Where has IWU ranked in highest earning graduates among small schools in Illinois? If you guessed number 1, you got it. And what's even better, IWU is the number 1 college in Illinois for getting a job and number 7 in the nation.
Last question, how much does it cost to apply to Illinois Wesleyan? If you said nothing, well, you're right. There's absolutely no application fee. So what are you waiting for? Visit, apply, and see all the opportunities for success that await you at Illinois Wesleyan University.
Welcome to Titan Table Talk. We're now sitting down with men's volleyball coach at Illinois Wesleyan University, Brandon Mueller. Brandon, welcome to Titan Table Talk.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be back. It's been a while, and so I'm excited to kind of share some news about our program and team. And
yeah, is this year 5 now?
Yeah, so
right?
year
5th
5.
Year.
Yeah.
And you're off to another 3-0 start. You guys started off 3-0 last year, even playing a couple of the same teams in Olivet and Lakeland. But I was curious to ask you if this 3-0 felt any different than last year's 3-0 start.
Yeah, it definitely does. I think our guys have come in pretty focused. We're young, but definitely a focused group, and just a bit more energy, I feel like, out on the court and on the bench.
It's you and I have had some conversations, and I had a little past experience with women's soccer here at Illinois Wesleyan building a program, and those first 4 or 5 years of recruiting are always interesting because your first year is kind of like, please God, just give me enough players to be able to practice and make it through competitions. And and then you want to try to ramp it up a little year and kind of see that step up, not only in numbers on the roster, but then eventually now you start making that shift to try to get a more talented roster each year. Do you feel like you've been seeing that improvement?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think, I mean, at first building the program is about getting the right guys and making sure we can field the team in practice and do the right things. And now we're getting to the point where we've brought in a lot of talent and guys that compete at a high level, and our roster is growing. And I think it's because we brought in the right guys to start, and guys want to be a part of what we're doing here and keep pushing the envelope and to see what's possible here. Has
that been a little bit of a challenge in some regards with new players coming in, or have you found that the guys mesh pretty well? It's always interesting from a coach perspective, things that seem really clear to a coach or an outsider and say, well, of course, you start with these guys because you need guys, and then as you kind of ramp it up. But everybody wants playing time. Everybody wants to be a bigger part of it. Everyone commits their time and effort to building the program. So how has it been kind of getting the team to mesh and for everybody to kind of buy in as you've gone through this transitional process the first 3-4 years?
Yeah, I think this part's always tough. I think, like you said, everyone wants to play. I mean, all 20 guys on the roster want to get those opportunities, and unfortunately, there's only 6 guys can be on the court at one time. And so I think it's important that the guys know their role, understand their role, and understand that when they are given that opportunity to make the most of it. At the end of the day, I always say, make it so I can't take you off the court. And so some guys are taking advantage of those opportunities, and if not, it's about growing and getting better at the end of the day. And so we're competing hard in practice, and we'll figure out what works best for our team right now. But the guys are working hard, and they're coming together, and they enjoy competing with one another. And so I think that's the biggest thing right now is figuring out each other and what works best.
You obviously had a number of freshmen show up pretty big this first week of competition. Trey Merrick and I think also Gavin Rolwig and Ethan Kuziela. And, as a coach, you recruit players and you think how effective they're going to maybe be at the collegiate level and for your program. And then you get them in practice a little bit, as you're kind of maybe do a little preseason, and then you kind of get into season practices. But maybe you really don't know until you see them in competition. So did you learn something about them this past week?
Yeah, I learned a lot about our young guys, and you're exactly right. You don't know what you're going to have until they actually get on the court and compete against somebody besides our own team. I knew we brought in, the most talented group we've ever brought in. Guys that can score, guys that can set and make plays in the back row as well, especially Benzema in that area. But just the guys you mentioned, Trey and Gavin and Ethan are guys that are definitely going to impact our program here early on and get some opportunities to compete against some really good teams, and they're off to a great start. And I'm excited to see what happens in the next couple of weeks when we up the competition and see what happens.
You've actually fared, decently well in the non-conference portion of your schedule the last couple of years, but the rubber kind of hits the road with the conference. I don't know if a lot of people understand for Division III men's volleyball, since it's so new to Illinois Wesleyan, but how talented the conference is with some of the teams. So, the next step for your program seems to be becoming more competitive with the teams in the CCIW during that second half of the season. Is that the way that you see it, and what are some of the improvements you're going to need to make this year in order to be more competitive in that conference schedule?
Yeah, for us, our big goal is to make the conference tournament. We've never made the conference tournament. Like you said, our conference is extremely competitive. There is only 6 teams, but only 4 teams make the conference tournament, and currently there's 4 teams that are ranked in the top 20 in the country, and so that makes it definitely challenging, but something our team is up for. And a big thing for us in just scheduling is, non-conference wise, how do we play some of the top 20 teams in the country? And so we definitely have some of those, and we got Aurora coming up, and Dominican, and a few others that we can definitely gauge where we're at, and hopefully bring our best once the conference season rolls around.
Would you look at the tougher teams that you play, and was it pretty balanced in terms of the improvements you felt you needed to make offensively and defensively, or did you look at it and go, we've got to defend better, we need a stronger block to compete at this level, or did you find that how did they balance out on both sides of the ball there?
Yeah, I think this year it's really important that we find a way to block better. I think that's something we've struggled with our first 4 years, and the first 3 matches we've done a tremendous job in that area. And then I think number one is how do we score? And so we got to find guys that can put the ball away at a high clip. And once again, so far so good. And we're going to find out quite a bit in the next couple weeks. Who's able to score against those high level teams. And I think we got the talent this year that we're not just so focused on 1 or 2 guys. We have the ability to score with 4 or 5 different guys, and I think that's going to help us and compete at the highest level in our conference here.
I think one thing that's been an interesting learning process for me with our men's volleyball program is how big these dudes are. I mean, it's like walking around a basketball team. It's the size is impressive, not just for our team, but for teams that come into the Shirk Center as well. But it's obviously more than just size, right? So talking a little bit about improving your blocking game, what makes an effective blocker? What is it that, gets you from just having big guys jumping at the net to having guys that are really effective in the blocking game?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is reading. Like how can you read the setter and give yourself an advantage there? And so height is always important. It's an advantage, but I think being able to read and be fast, especially as a middle, is number one for me. I mean, we have Jake Coogan, who's 6'3", but has led our team in blocking here, and it's because he reads so well, and his first step is quick, and he's able to get pin to pin laterally. And I think Gavin, as a young player, is doing a great job there as well. And so he's a little bit behind Jake, but he'll find his way. He's played at a high level, and in his club days in high school, and so he's figuring it out. And we got a couple other young guys that maybe are a little bit behind him, and so that's the biggest thing is being able to read the game and react, as fast as you can.
The other thing that escapes maybe a lot of casual observers is the setting game, and what I found about setting over the years is it really depends on where you're sitting in the arena as to how good the set. Everybody looks at the end result, which is the hit. But sometimes the sets are too close to the net or it's too far off the net. So talk a little bit about your setting game, this season, and where you feel you are with that and the consistency of the work that you're getting from your setters.
Yeah, it's always, a huge part of the game. How do we get our guys in rhythm and feeling comfortable when they're going up to attack? And that's about our guys putting the ball in a position for those hitters to be successful. And so currently we're running kind of like a hybrid 5-2, and so we actually have 3 guys, setting, and so Vince is setting in the back row, and when he gets to the front row, we kind of sub him out for Brennan Ryder, and so he's setting in the front row in serve receive, but then in the transition game, we've been having Ethan Kujela set that portion of it, and so we have some really talented setters that have done a great job. It's a unique offense that we're running right now and a little bit different than most, and so I think we can have an advantage there. But it's credit to those guys' hard work and putting our guys in rhythm.
Is that just because of the particular skill set that they possess that it kind of makes them better in those positions?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that helps us is, Brendan and Ethan are such good hitters. We need to have them attack, and the fact that they jump well and they're both tall setters, it gives us an advantage there. And so I don't want to take away their attack because their ability to score is so high. And so if we can, have one guy set in serve receive, I think it gives us, 5 attackers, and then, the same when we're in transition, which usually the ball's off the net, but it gives us an advantage there where Brennan can hit in the transition game. You
obviously had a lot of experience and success with girls volleyball at the high school level at Deer Creek Mackinac, and for people that haven't seen a lot of men's volleyball, the tempo is just so different, and what is it when you're looking, for someone who's taking in men's volleyball to try to see, about that timing and that tempo, what is it about the speed of play that is so important to a team to keep you in rhythm?
Yeah, I think, the servicing game is huge just so that we can be in system. The game is so fast-paced, and so if it's a one-on-one block or there's a seam, most often the guys have the ability to score. And so offensively, if you can push the tempo and have those options, I'm pretty confident that our guys are going to be able to score at a high level. And when you're out of system and they have a double or triple block, it makes it a bit more challenging. And so still finding ways to, put up a good swing and maybe not score, but get the other team still out of system is crucial for us. And so, being in rhythm for those guys to attack is number one, and that's how you're going to score and be consistent on the offensive end of it.
Well, you're busy with two matches this week. Tonight, Tuesday, the 21st of January, you've got a 7 p.m. match against Rockford. And then you're on the road again on Thursday, and you'll be going against Aurora again at 7 p.m. At Aurora. These are two teams you won matches against last year, so again, whether or not there's an expectation of the result, I'm sure it's an opportunity for you to see how this group matches up against those teams this year.
Yeah, you're exactly right again. Rockford's going to be a good opportunity for us to play. I mean, Rockford hasn't played anybody yet this year, so I'm unsure. They got a new coach and a few new players that I've never seen play, and so it'll be interesting to see us just travel for the first time and play on someone else's court, which is always fun but different experience for especially the young guys. And then we got Aurora, who's ranked in the top 20 currently and has a roster that's pretty loaded, and so it'll be a great test for us then. And so another away match, but I know our guys are excited and ready to compete at our highest level and keep improving.
Well, congratulations on a fantastic, perfect start to the season, 3-0, and we'll hope maybe we can talk about 5-0 after this week goes through. One at a time, though, for sure.
One at a time. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for joining us on Titan Table Talk.
Thanks.
All right.
I can see it now. The smell of the grass on the quad. That sense of excitement in the air each fall. It feels like yesterday. While I'm no longer 18, I know there are students out there ready for an opportunity like I had. For the space to discover passions, bond over dreams, and make lifelong friends. Breakthrough at Illinois Wesleyan University.
Welcome to Titan Table Talk. We continue now with two seniors from the Illinois Wesleyan men's basketball team, Hakim Williams and Harrison Wilmsen. Guys, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Took Hakim, we had to wait about 10 minutes for you to unbundle from everything you had. People that may not know, I mean, the day that we're taping this is about -7 outside right now. So we've got a small campus, which is nice. You don't have a lot of long walks, but it's still pretty cold out there, isn't it?
Got to proceed with caution, man.
Well, we're glad that both of you could make it over here today for Titan Table Talk. And getting into a fun part of the season, things are going well. We just learned yesterday the team has moved up to number 5 in the country nationally. You guys are sitting at 14-2 overall and 6-1 in the CCIW. So I imagine that's exciting for both of you. Is there a special sense of purpose this year with this senior class, both of you being seniors, and the way that things ended last year and kind of the mission you're on for this year, Hakim?
Yeah, I would say so. It's kind of just last year in general, speaking on that, it just kind of left a bad taste in our mouth. And we know now better than anybody, just every game counts. We've been talking about that a lot. Like no game is important than the next. So just trying to stay in the moment and focus on that and trying to hopefully make a run in the NCAA tourney. So.
Harrison, I know that, when you're being recruited to Illinois Wesleyan, even at that stage, the coaches will tell you, hey, if you come here, every night you play is a big night for the other team.
Definitely.
There's always a bullseye on you. Other teams love to knock off Illinois Wesleyan, especially when you get in the conference. Do you feel even a heightened sense of that this year with the great start and the national ranking, that you're really getting some big punches from opposing teams?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every game is really, a battle. We're not taken lightly anywhere we go. And I think, that speaks to the program that, Denny Bridges started, Coach Rose has built on, the athletics, the athletic community. We're a proud program with a rich history. So, I mean, it's a blessing to wear, tight and green on your chest and to go each night and get someone's best shot. And that's why we came here. We're competitive, and we want to be great and win games. So it's awesome. I think it's a blessing, yeah.
Do you guys even remember 16 games in where you were last year after 16 games?
I do not.
Yeah.
Me either. No, I couldn't take.
You guys were sitting at 10-6, and then you went on an 8-1 run to finish out the rest of the regular season. So really got hot and tore it up through conference. Would be kind of nice to get on a run like that right now, wouldn't it, Hakim?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of conference, I mean, we play in one of the best conferences there is in D3. So just to kind of piggyback off of us being a proud program and we get everybody best shot, that's the same with conference. Non-conference game it's been the same all year. So with conference, we coming up, well, in the thick of it, we just got to stay focused, take it one game at a time. That's pretty much what I would say about that conference.
Yeah.
One of the good signs recently is the fact that you've got different guys on the team stepping up, right? So just past game at Millikin, Carlo, Kolak came up with a big game, the triple overtime game against North Central. Anderson came up really big at the end of that game. Josh Friedman had a big game at North Park. Nick Roper's been in there. You guys have. But it's kind of nice, right, not having to rely on one guy the whole time. It's nice that different guys are stepping up in different moments.
Yeah, and I think the thing that, really makes this team unique, culture-wise and then, playing-wise is that, we have, 6, seniors who have, played 4 years. But really our team is, kind of led by the underclassmen. We have a great underclassmen, the juniors, sophomores, freshmen. They grab the rope and, they're pulling with us. And, there'll be times when I do something wrong and, they'll come up to me and, say, hey, I need this from you or I need that. I need you to play better. I'm like, all right, yeah, let's do this.
Yep.
And when you have that, kind of connectivity, you can really do anything. And it's just about staying, in the moment, aware, continuing to win games.
You've got this Wednesday, you're going to finish out kind of the first half of the conference season with the only team you haven't seen yet, Augustana. Hakim, have you guys prepared for them and looked at them this week? What are you expecting from the Vikings here at 7 p.m. tomorrow night in the Shirk Center?
We know they're going to give us their best shot. Like 2 years ago, I would say, my sophomore year, I believe, we went into their place and they hit us in the mouth and beat us by 20. So we know not to take them lightly. We know they're a good team. They just putting it together right now. Yeah, we just got to stay focused, execute our game plan, and not let them take us out of what we're doing, and I think we'll be fine.
And then the interesting thing, Harrison, is you then start on Saturday with your second half of the conference season with teams you've already seen, and that will be a 4:15 p.m. home game against Wheaton. And Wheaton gave you about all you wanted when you were up at their place, so it was at a tough time where you came back after the winter break, and that was kind of the first game you went into, but an overtime victory up there. But really had to work hard to come out with a win against a team that if you look on paper, Wheaton has really struggled within the conference and even overall this year. But, again, a team that showed up on that night to try to take you guys down.
Yep. I mean, Wheaton's a really good team and super well coached. And, I mean, it just speaks to every night we got to be ready. There's great teams in this conference no matter what the schedule says. And, take it one game at a time and know when you step on the court, you're going to get the opponent's best shot. And, you got to step up to the occasion. You
guys have had some interesting games this year, I'll say, where you've come out on fire. The Elmhurst game, you guys came out and looked incredible in the first, 5 to 6 minutes of that game, maybe 7 minutes, and then, built up a big lead, and then Elmhurst clawed back, and then you guys finally took control of the game again. You've had games where you guys have kind of started out cold, like just crazy starts for the other team where they've been super hot, and you've been the team that's had to claw your way back in over the course of the game. How do you guys... Does that feel normal to you? Is it just part of the game? Or how do you guys, when you assess it, do you feel like it's as much of a roller coaster with that, or it's just, on any given night?
Like you were saying earlier about our underclassmen, I try to preach to them that, like, there's no big eyes and little U's on this team. You guys, this is as much as your team as it is ours as seniors. So with that, I feel like it just bands us together. That's a connection. So we fight through whatever adversity is thrown at us at the moment. I like to call us winners. We all winners. Like, we all would do whatever it takes to win. So if Roper's having an off night, somebody else steps up. If I'm having an off night, somebody else steps up, like Carlo, for instance, at Millikin. He came in, hit big shots. That's winning plays. We all make winning plays. So I think with those ups and downs and hard-fought overtime wins, that just shows how together we are as a group. And I don't think most teams can say that. So
I would totally agree. And I would say, basketball is an amazing sport because it's so fluid. And, there's going to be, ups and downs throughout, a 40-minute game. But, the team that prevails is the team that can come together, take punches and, and give punches back. And the team that throws the most punches at the end of the day is usually going to be the team that wins. And I think it speaks to, the maturity and depth of our team with the underclassmen, with the upperclassmen. So I think, that the adaptability to, respond, to maybe, the peaks and valleys is, a really, positive trait for this team.
We talked about it a little bit with the women's basketball program. Also, with the two of you having such great years, 30-2 combined record, not too shabby for Illinois Wesleyan basketball. Yeah. But we talked with them that, they started out shooting the three-pointer pretty well at the beginning of the year, went through a little slump. But one of the, things that they've been able to do really well is adjust and say, okay, well, that's not happening for us tonight. We need to get the ball inside. We need to create turnovers off of the, the run and jump and get some easy buckets. Do you guys feel it that way too some nights where you're just like, man, the threes are just not going down, let's refocus? I'm assuming the coaches are talking to you about that. Hey, let's maybe try to score the basketball here because this part of our game might be struggling a little bit, or you just feel like, it may not be working right now, but we can't give it up because it's going to eventually come back around.
Yeah, I would say it's always just sticking with the game plan. Obviously, make adjustments as they need to go on through the game. But sticking to the game plan is honestly what I would say was what got us to where we are now. Coach Rose does a great job. Our whole staff does a great job with just scouting the other teams and preparing us for the game to come so we can be more aggressive in everything we're doing. So if shots are not falling, we make adjustments. Maybe it's time to get the big fella some touches, get some easy looks, just to open things up for us. But as far as I would say, shot selection-wise, Coach Rose, he's pretty lenient on that. He kind of lets us play freely, and I think that's what is a big part of our success. Is just him letting us play and be who we are on the court.
I figure for you, Harrison, like the first 2 to 3 minutes of every game is figuring out how's this sucker going to be officiated. Because I know it's tough on you sometimes. You get in there, and because of your size, they're letting other guys that are smaller than you beat on you like crazy, or sometimes you're getting, whistled for fouls, and something that would be considered normal physicality for most games and stuff. So I'm sure that's a constant adjustment for you. Yeah,
definitely. But I think, the underlying, theme would be that, kind of go off Jalen Hurts, rain, sleet, or snow, the Titan defense is trying to go.
Yeah.
And, that's what we're built on. We're built on, defense, being competitive, filling the gaps. And, whatever night we bring offensively, we know because the players on the court, the players in the locker room, we know we can execute. It's just whether, every game, it relies on defense. Are we going to, be tenacious, competitive, hardworking, blue collar, the principles that, this program was built on. So I think, that speaks more to, kind of the theme.
Well, I'll close it out by giving each of you guys a chance to answer this question. But, as seniors, putting in this final year, what are your personal goals the rest of the way, Hakim, and what are your team goals? What would you like to see? How would you like to see the rest of this season play out?
Personal goals, I don't really have any. They just kind of, so when they come, it'll be nice. But yeah, I don't have really anything personal. But as a team, I want to win conference, like the tournament. We haven't done that since I've been here, so I want to do that. That's the big goal I got, and then obviously going forward, make the tournament, and then make a deep run, and I want to get to Fort Wayne. So that's the big goal for me. Those are the big goals for me.
Yeah, and I really think that speaks a lot of depth because the best defender in the country and one of the best leaders on our team just said he has no personal goals but team goals, and I think that speaks to our team too. We want to win the CCIW tournament, win the CCIW championship, and go to Fort Wayne. It's been 4 years in the making, so it's just got to win the games to write the story.
I know that the program does a great job, with all the stuff inside your locker room and everything you see around the Shirk Center with the banners. There's a lot of talk about, hey, making that Final Four and being a Final Four team, which is great to preserve that history. But do you guys feel it? Do you feel that saying, hey, this is our chance to make a run like that? And you kind of feel a little bit like a responsibility trying to add to that tradition, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, but I feel like that kind of comes with it. Like we knew what we signed up for when we was coming to Wesleyan. Just like you were saying, like we get every team we get that best shot. Mm-hmm. So like whenever we signed up for this, we knew coming in, everybody's gonna think we just spoon fed and got handed everything. But yeah, it's just the grinded out mentality or just being competitive, and then you with a group of guys that you love. And I love all these guys, man. And I feel like our brotherhood is what's gonna put us over the top of everything that's coming our way.
Yeah, totally. And the opportunity and the blessing to wear, the Titan jersey and to go to war with your best friends, and play in the Shirk Center with a community that backs you under banners. I mean, it's the best feeling in the world. And, for us, 4 years in the program, I think there's a special ending to this story. So just one game at a time.
Yeah.
Terrific. Well, thanks both of you for braving the cold and getting over here. And I'm sending you back out there again. I apologize, but appreciate you joining us for Titan Table Talk today. And that's it for this week. We'll see everybody next week.